joining me now to talk about this naming controversy, our political analyst, Dr. Rashad Richey. You know, there's two sides to every story.
Sure.
What do you think of this attempt by Councilmember Brown to call for a panel to discuss this? Is it political or is it grandstanding?
Well, some people have called it grandstanding, but one thing Councilman Antonio Brown is not is a grandstander. He is sometimes politically naive, understandably so. He just got to Atlanta City Council, but he was voted in by a significant number of young millennial voters in that district, as well as the activist class of voters in that district. So when you look at what really happened in the breakdown of those who were either for or against, you saw some of the older voters who still have a lot of love for the former and late Ivory Lee Young Jr., who passed away while serving. And this was his baby, so to speak. And he fought very hard for this park and the naming of the park. And even though he did not have a vote, he did have a consensus from the community. And you saw that play out while that council meeting went down. But I did get a statement a few minutes ago directly from Councilman Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown said, and I quote, "Council decided in a 9-6 vote to file away the voices of the people of District 3 that didn't even allow the opportunity for the legislation to be voted on." He was still fuming about how this went down.
So in some ways, is there a disconnect? He is considered, because of his age, way younger, tied into millennials. Do you think there's a disconnect from the civil rights movement and perhaps the meaning behind the significance of having this park named after this individual?
I think there is a disconnect, especially when you have Ambassador Andrew Young, who comes out, makes a statement. He's kind of the adult in the room, so to speak, and he's not for looking at a commission to rename the park. And there were those who were kind of neutral about it and thought that they simply had better things to discuss. But Councilman Brown was sincere in his attempt, because there are those, even though it may not be the majority voice, there are those who wanted to have a say-so in the naming.
Who gains from this if there's a name change, proposing the change to the park name? Who gains out of this?
Really, nobody actually gains. It's the name of a park, and legacy still matters to a lot of people, but nobody really gains any political points with this. I do think politically it was a loss for Councilman Brown. He will recoup, and we'll see what the next fight is.
Do you think it's going to happen?
I think the park is going to stay exactly the same.
Okay, well, we're going to continue to follow this. Thank you for your insight,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Richey, as always.